Alright y'all, strap in, cause this one is straight up mayhem. Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're peeling back the layers on one of those wild 2014 board meetings, so we can get a real taste of what doctrine politics were serving. Back then, the energy, the dysfunction, the whole messy mood that was going down in that room. Now listeners, I've been digging through these old recordings. One thing is jumping out at me loud and clear. The bulk of the drama we're seeing in those early sessions, that chaos didn't just pop up out of nowhere. Nah, it was sparked by some brand new faces in the building, folks like Tiffany Henyard, Robert Hunt, and Stan Brown. Yep, that trio, the same trio that basically turned those meetings into a circus. The Chaos Committee, the Petty Parade, whatever you want to call it, they were front and center. Now don't get me wrong, some of these older meetings did start out rocky, but if you watch them all the way through and compare them to the ones that came later, especially under the previous mayor, you actually start to see some order come into place. That is, of course, unless Tiffany was in charge. Because when she had the gavel, it was giving unbothered dictator energy. Watching all these clips just makes it even more obvious. Tiffany knew exactly what she was doing wrong. She wasn't clueless, she just didn't care. She chose herself over the community, over the village, over the people who actually put her in office. And when it came to money, she made sure she ate first. Speaking of money, that's what today's meeting was all about. The trustees, specifically Tiffany, Robert, and Stan, were out here pushing to slash salaries and cut full-time employees down to part-time, all while selling it like they were saving the village budget. MMHMM. But here's the kicker. How are you out here claiming broke status while also greenlighting cash for fireworks and tossing around extra stipends like party favors? Make it make sense. It's giving. Cut the staff's hours, but boost our own benefits. Real politician energy, right? But let's go ahead and roll that tape. We're about to listen in on one of the more heated exchanges where they start arguing over these job cuts and salary reductions.
Right now we're talking about making people part-time. We cut in every department, including your department, but we cut it because we cannot afford. We cannot afford it. So what's that? It's just all you want. You cut yourself. Speak for yourself. You know.
Right. The fact of the matter is, all of these cuts, not all of them, but a lot of these cuts are directed towards me.
It's not.
There's no mayor. There's no mayor. There's no mayor. There is no mayor without an administrative assistant. There is no mayor. None. Without administrative.
After that, I'll hop back in and we'll talk about what really went down. So based on what we just heard, it looks like they're gunning to eliminate the mayor's full-time administrative assistant position and swap it out with a part-time replacement. And look, I might not have a PhD in municipal job descriptions, but even I know that doesn't make sense. Like seriously, since when is an admin assistant, especially for the mayor, not a full-time role? I mean, let's just break it down real quick. Google straight up defines an administrative assistant as someone who provides critical support to make sure things run efficiently. They handle everything: scheduling, phones, documents, office communications, records, name it. That's not some every now and then kind of job. That's daily, ongoing, grinded out work. So how exactly are you going to part-time a full-time job that's literally the glue holding the mayor's office together? And don't forget, we're not talking about just any admin assistant here. This is the mayor's right-hand person. If that job's not full-time, what is? Honestly, the whole thing feels like it's less about the budget and more about sabotage. Because when you look at the old Bordino, the one that was under Tiffany Henyard's administration, nobody was trying to chop her staff or cut her team's hours. Matter of fact, they handed her the whole playbook: funding, resources, support, everything she needed, she got. So when you see this kind of move now, it's giving petty. It's giving sabotage. It's giving, we're gonna make your job hard just because we can. And let's talk facts. Y'all approved 98% of the budget she put forward. 98%. If the goal was really to block her, that wouldn't have happened. But now y'all want to act like there's bad blood just because the truth's starting to sting. The minute folks start telling lies and throwing shade, the whole tone shifts. But here's what kills me: you say, we don't want to work with you, but we passed your budget, didn't we? And real talk, most of y'all got your seats because of her. You ran under her ticket. You stood next to her at rallies, smiled in the photos, rode the coattails, and now you're flipping the script. Please, the only thing that overspent was the inauguration. Yeah, about $15,000 over net. Let's be real, that was your people's event too. Don't act brand new. Now that the power dynamics flipped, suddenly everybody's got a different agenda. All of a sudden, folks want to rewrite the rules and pretend like it's just checks and balances. Nah, let's call it what it is. People turning their backs and playing politics, but listen, no good deed goes unpunished, right? That's what they say. Funny thing is, some of y'all sat in trustee seats for 8 years. You already know how this works. You did the same thing back then. So what was it cool when you were doing it? But now it's wrong. Let's keep it 100. This whole mess could have been avoided if folks just worked together from the jump. I mean, I ran with y'all. I put Jason and Kiana on the ticket. I gave y'all a seat at the table. But it turns out, you were stabbing me in the back while I was still passing the bread. And don't try to play us like we're just puppets for somebody else's agenda. Most of us have lived longer, paid more bills, and raised more kids than you've ever managed. We don't need outside influence, we are the influence. We know what's right, and we know what's wrong. But y'all chose to back a narcissist with a god complex because you wanted to be on the winning side. The problem is, that leader you're following only leads when it benefits them. And when the smoke clears, just know we've been watching. All of us. Let's talk about real money being wasted like that $1,500 to $2,000 security detail. On your own block, that's not a rumor, that's facts. Residents are out here footing the bill, while Tiffany Henyard was getting a personal perimeter like she's headlining Coachella. Dalton's folks. They're the ones paying the price. Tiffany's mess. We're still cleaning it up. And now that someone else is in the chair. Oh, suddenly, everybody got secret missions and hidden agendas. Funny how history repeats itself because it's the exact same drama. Just with new cast members. Now let me hit y'all with a quick disclaimer. When I throw around words like narcissist or sociopath, that's just my opinion. I'm not a licensed therapist, just a concerned resident with a mic and a memory. So let's get back into it. Let's talk about this admin assistant situation. Because when you call the mayor's office, the first voice you hear, that assistant, that's the first line of contact. Now imagine they start working on something Monday and it ain't resolved till Thursday. If that person's part-time, that whole issue floats around from shift to shift, getting lost in the shuffle. Zero consistency. Zero accountability. And now you want to tell the mayor who to hire. You want to tell me who I should feel confident handing major responsibilities to? Nah. You want to slide in some part-timer making $10 an hour. That's exactly what you're gonna get, $10 worth of effort. We're not talking about birthday invites or pizza orders. These are calls from Springfield, from DC, from state and federal agencies. You want a part-time person answering that line at 8:30 a.m. and still dealing with it at 5:30 p.m. No, Ma single quotes AM dot. And then trustee, Sabrina Smith, suggests, well, maybe just get a retired person to do it. So we're reducing the job to just answering phones now. Wow. Listen, it's clear the mayor wasn't having it. And honestly, rightfully so. This is the mayor's top aide. It's not about answering phones, it's about managing sensitive, high-stakes information and following through on issues that affect the entire village. You want someone qualified, someone sharp, someone who won't drop the ball when the governor's office calls. Not to mention, let's talk hypocrisy. When Tiffany Henyard was in that seat, nobody blinked when she handed out big salaries to her staff. Keith Freeman, making a whole check without even getting a background check done. We didn't even know who the man was until his name popped up on an agenda. We talked to him for 20 minutes on a Sunday, and that was it. Not even the basic vetting that we voted into law. But this mayor, the current one, he's been in the trenches. Ran for trustee back in 2013, became the youngest to ever do it in Dalton, 8 years deep. And somehow, they still try to run him through the ringer, like he's new here. And for what? None of these staffing changes were even brought to the board the right way back when Tiffany was in charge. Funny how back then, it was her way or no way. But now everyone wants process and paperwork. Y'all remember that first board meeting that got canceled? The threats of arrest. Trustees couldn't even get inside the building, let's not forget. Even WGN's Patrick Elwood had to come down and report on it because it was that wild. Trustees were literally locked out of Village Hall. The mayor refused to let them in. So guess what? They held the meeting in the parking lot. In the parking lot, the quorum was there. The village clerk was present. The board held an official meeting outside. In the cold, if you go into Village Hall, you will be arrested. That's what was said. Elected officials being threatened just for trying to do their job. And this wasn't some one-time drama either. Trustee Edward Steve and 5 others called a special meeting 2 days before to hire their own legislative attorney because the mayor and her legal team kept blocking every single move they tried to make. They followed protocol, gave the 48 notice, posted it publicly, all legal, but they still got locked out and threatened. Now they're calling for a retreat, a sit-down. But what's the point if the only rules that apply are the ones one person decides? That's not compromise. That's dictatorship with a side of delusion. And trust, this ain't the only heated moment between the mayor and trustee Sabrina Smith. Their back and forths in these board meetings are legendary. And this one right here, it's no different. Send an email, do a memo. Okay, cool. But do you even realize the person in this seat right now, Miss Phillips, she's still learning after all this time. Even a year or two in, she's still figuring stuff out. So now you want to bring in someone with zero experience to replace her part-time. How long do you think it takes to find someone with no experience and make them work like a pro? You've got to post the job, screen them, interview them, and that takes time. So when you slash this position from the budget, who's picking up the phones? In the meantime, while y'all hunt down 2 part-timers like it's a Craigslist ad. Now this part right here, this exchange between the mayor and trustee Sabrina Smithman, the disrespect was loud. She said, "It would be dumb on your part to hire someone without experience." Like really, let's be honest. No one's hiring an amateur. The mayor was just stressing how critical this full-time role is. This isn't just a desk job, it's the glue holding that office together. But instead of listening, Sabrina flips it into a petty dig. You can feel the tension, like something deeper is simmering under the surface with those two. That wasn't politics, that was personal. And just when you think it couldn't get messy a bomb, here comes Tiffany Henyard. Yep, that Tiffany entrepreneur, CEO of Tiffy's Good and Soul Food, which, let's not forget, is currently off the grid. She slides in, like always, with her uninvited commentary. Hold on, trustee. If we put someone down there to answer phones, we're just pulling manpower from somewhere else. Either that, or the mayor's gotta do it himself. Classic Tiffany up late to the logic party. Her grand advice, just treat the position like someone called in sick. Pull someone from another department. Simple fix, right? Except, it's not. If you've ever run a team, a business, a restaurant, wait, maybe not the best example in her case. You know you don't yank people out of one department to cover another like it's a game of musical chairs. That's how you burn out your staff and tank morale. And the mayor was clear. Doing that puts stress on everyone. You don't rob Peter to pay Paul just to keep the phones answered. Especially not in the mayor's office, where critical info flows in non-stop. This whole thing just proves Tiffany doesn't understand how to lead a team or run a business. And, well, the ghost kitchen that never reopened kind of speaks for itself. Leadership is about supporting your people, not draining them because you didn't plan ahead. Sure, people get sick. Sure, emergencies happen. But this wasn't an emergency. This was a choice. Cut the position before lining up a replacement. That's on the board. And then comes the moment that killed me. You think it's funny to give residents subpar service. Listen, but y'all want to put $10,000 into fireworks. Tiffany really sat there, laughing, while arguing that 2 part-time hires could handle the entire load. Like this job ain't just phones, it's scheduling, documents, tracking government requests. That's not a couple hours a day kind of task. And when the mayor said cutting this role would hurt residents, Tiffany had the nerve to say, the residents don't have anything to do with it. Excuse me, this is the same Tiffany who, every time she spoke as mayor, cried out, I do this for the residents, I care. I'm here for the people. But now suddenly, the residents don't matter. Pick a lane. She was always the first to throw shade at trustees, saying, y'all don't do nothing. I don't see you around town. I don't see you at the gas station or the grocery store. Y'all just run your mouths. And when things went south, I'm the only one producing around here. Y'all the ones wasting the village's money. But somehow, it's never her fault. Anyway, let's move it along. You remember the PA system, the one that's been busted for how long now? Even a basic recommendation to get that fixed got shot down. Like they won't even approve a speaker, but want the mayor to work with no staff. And then we get to the next bombshell at Lynna Williamson, Water Department Supervisor. The board majority pushed to chop her salary from nearly $60,000 to $40,000, plus benefits. That's a huge hit, especially for someone who's been with the village for 15 years. She's been living in Dalton for 23. That's loyalty. That's dedication. That's exactly the kind of local hire everyone claims they want. But instead of rewarding that commitment, they put a target on her, backslash her pay, to save money. Meanwhile, the board members' own salaries, untouched, unbothered, safe. They'll protect their perks all day long, but gut the people doing the actual work. And if that doesn't tell you where their priorities are, nothing will. Now look, firing someone or cutting their pay after 15 years. Yeah, it looks bad. But here's where things get complicated. The mayor pointed out that the water department's been a mess for a long time. And honestly, anyone who's been paying attention to these meetings knows water issues in Dalton are nothing new. We're talking about inflated bills, inaccurate charges, and residents just getting wrecked financially. One woman's story, straight up heartbreaking. She bought her dream home, everything was perfect, until she found out years later that she owed over $2,400 in back water bills. Not her debt, the previous owners. Her closing papers were clear, paid in full, no lien. But somehow, that debt stuck to her name like glue. She fought the village for years, filed complaints, called every office she could, and when she went in person to get answers, they called the police on her. The woman's been through hell, and she still refuses to pay that bill until she gets a refund. And honestly, can you blame her? But this brings us to the real question. If you're going to cut the salary of someone like the water department supervisor, someone with decades of experience, what's the plan? What's the vision? Are y'all going to reinvest that money? Are we getting new water meters? billing system upgrades, better tech, or is this just a slash and burn move with no strategy? Because here's the thing, this department has had the same staff for years, and the problems haven't gone away. That might be part of the issue. Maybe the board wants new blood to shake things up and, okay, fair. But employees can only do so much when they're given broken tools and outdated systems. So let's not act like it's all their fault either. Now, talk about Tiffany Henyard again, because believe it or not, she once came out swinging to fix the water department. She pushed to change. Shut off so residents wouldn't lose water over the weekend. Sounds nice, right? Like a little relief for people falling behind. But if you're really watching, that felt less like compassion and more like campaign strategy. A quick win 2.2 once she ran for mayor. Something that looks good on paper, even if it didn't really fix anything long term. She was very vocal during meetings defending residents, calling the department out, saying the water department needs help, and blaming the constant turnover of leadership. But when she started going in on the department's performance, oh, the looks she got from staff sitting right in front of her. Pure daggers. Because when you've worked somewhere for years and a politician publicly blames you for everything that's not constructive criticism, that's disrespect. Straight up. Now, nobody's saying residents should get their water shut off for missing a payment by a few days. That's ridiculous. But let's be real, cutting vital staff or gutting salaries without a real plan. That's how you end up with even more angry residents. More complaints, more bills that don't make sense, and that's the real problem here. There's no vision, thus cuts. Anyway, that's where we're leaving it today. If you found this breakdown helpful, do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe, and drop a comment. If you've ever had a ridiculous utility bill that made 0 sense, we'll be back with more chaos from Dalton real soon.